Hey guys, Rachel Pedersen here. You are in for a real treat as we dive on in to the magic behind successful podcasts. And I'm so excited to share with you that I'm interviewing my dear friend, Jay Wong. Now, Jay is the CEO of Podcast Your Brand, a marketing company that builds podcasts that generate literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for their clients. The market is fast growing and Podcast Your Brand is uniquely positioned to disrupt the entire industry with its unique approach to specifically generating guaranteed ROI for their clients. They've worked with so many different brands and podcasts, including Procter and Gamble, as well as smaller emerging brands too. I'm so excited to share this. And remember, make sure that you check out in either the copy above this video, beneath this video, or at the show notes for this podcast episode, rachelpedersen.com/podcast. Jay has been incredibly gracious and is offering a mini training that actually outlines your top 100 buyers podcast system totally for free. Head on over to that free training. You're going to absolutely love it. I will catch you guys in this interview. Let's dive on in. Jay, I am so excited that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you have this awesome show and platform. And two, I'm just excited to be here and sharing the space. I know we were just literally trying to hit record as fast as possible.
I know. I started asking Jay a few little questions and I had to be like, stop, because I was like, I need to know all of the things that are currently happening. Now, Jay, how many years back do we go? It was, I think we met first when I was still working in my 9-to-5. Was that right?
I think so. I mean, this was okay, if you remember, shout out to Kirsten Ross.
Yes.
Me and Kirsten were running this thing in Toronto called Toronto Internet Marketers.
Yes.
Because we knew nothing about internet marketing. And why else would you run a meetup, right? Where you can invite some amazing people on.
Right.
But yeah, I remember we connected. I think you were at that time going through you're working with Jill and Josh.
Yep. So that would be,
could that be right?
Leaving my 9-to-5. That's so crazy. I remember you guys ended up selling that business, right?
Yeah. So we sold the brand. By the way, fun fact, you could sell a meetup group, right?
I had no idea until I heard Kirsten tell me all about it.
Yeah. So you could package anything really in business, right? Yeah. And with the right, optics behind it, with, to the right, seller, it just made for a really, really great story because at that time our businesses were just starting. And so we were able to get, essentially off the meetup groups and the community events, and actually thus started both of our different agencies, and Kirsten's doing all sort of cool things these days.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about some of the highs, the highlights. You don't have to be realistic here with this isn't everyone. We know. Yeah. I want to hear tell me a little bit about the wins behind the scenes of what happens with podcasts, because even just from spending a little bit of extra attention and energy on my podcast, I was like, wait, 2,000 downloads a day? What's happening?
Yeah.
And so I'm I think there's still a ton of potential. So share with me the highlights and the wins.
So, it's so interesting, right? Because I think, and you would know better than me, but, I think, so many people look at Instagram or even YouTube or even TikTok, right? And it's almost like they get a little deflated sometimes when they go, oh, we didn't hit these many views, right?
I feel that too. So It's not just some people. I feel that too when there's not consistent growth over and over and over day after day.
And it totally, I understand. We're in this landscape right now where everybody's on multi-channels and people argue it's good or it's bad or what have you. But I think the business owners that are listening, these are tools, right? Tools to be able to help you get your message out there even further. And I remember we worked with this, she's an actual poet. She's written 3 different books. She came, working with us. She had about I think 1.5 million on Instagram, right? We launched her podcast. It hit the top 100, top 12 actually, okay, in all of iTunes of Canada and in the US. And she was getting 50 to 60,000 downloads within her first month. right?
Oh my gosh.
Rachel.
That took me almost 2 years.
Yeah. We still, we still chat. We worked with her for this one season where she goes, Jay, I was thinking that because I had 1.6 million on Instagram, that I'm thinking that would translate over to the podcast side. So I'm actually a little upset because I was thinking we would start hitting the 1 million downloads, right? And what have you. But here's the funny distinction about it, which is, right, just like to your point, it's like these are 50, 60,000 people that are, listening. These are long form interviews, right? This is not just like a quick Insta story that they're going through or even a quick reel, but these are deeper conversations, right? And if you can embed the right content, the right nurturing pieces of content, the right call to actions in those content, right? These are people that are signing up for her membership. These are people signing up for her other programs. And so, I think we have to take things and put it into perspective, right? And one of our clients that did this really, really well, they're a training company. Okay. And so what they do is they hire these 18, 19, 20-year-olds to essentially they coach them on how to run painting businesses, right? Kind of a little boring, a little out of left field, right? But it's easy to train someone on how to be able to do that. And it's a little bit like a franchise model, right? So they'll take a certain percentage off of each operator, right? Well, we've been working with them now they just renewed for their 3rd year. And is it because they love podcasting so much? Sure. Is it because they're almost at 200 something episodes? Sure. Is it because they're, past 50 to 60,000 downloads? Sure. But we were actually able to grow their retention rate. So a normal year before this, their retention rate was 35% every single year, which, that kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. Top third of people came back, returned, right? This past year, I think they hit over 62%. It's been 2 years of podcasting, which is about I think just over a 70% growth rate, right? Of being of retaining their top talent. And on top of that, what like the conversations that they're having at their quarterly retreats, at their Zoom meetings, their virtual retreats, right? Everybody is listening and tuning in to the best stories, the messages from the CEO. In fact, if you're a performer at this company, you get 10, 15 minutes with the CEO. Imagine how cool that is, right? When, you're just growing up. And so they've been able to really take our method and just really, be able to run with it and get some amazing results.
Okay. So here's an interesting question. What are signs that someone's ready to launch a podcast if they haven't done so yet?
So this is a really good question. And I'll tell you why. Because every single time there's something that's really hot in the marketplace, there's this kind of like pressure that every person, and I'm sure you get this all the time.
The time, every day.
Every day. Like this is just the most common thing. Yes. And so everybody asks this question inevitably, should I do a podcast, right? Jay, I heard you, speak about this. This sounds great. So here's the thing. Do you love audio? Do you love the medium, right? And like when I say like, do you love the medium, as in like, do you actually enjoy and get, any takeaways, any type of joy that comes from listening to other podcasts, right? I think that in itself is a really good sign whether one should pursue it or one should not, because I think podcasting, and just like every medium, as you can probably attest to it, there is a little bit of, it's like 75, 80%, mechanics, right? Yes. But then there's that part that it's about the off script creativity in the moment. There's that little bit of artistic, input that one needs to have. And so the reason why it's pretty much a requirement to be able to do it well is because you want to be able to geek out on storytelling. You want to be able to try out different formats of the show, right? You want to be able to, constantly be able to innovate with your audience. So, I think that's like the first thing to kind of, look at, right? I think the second thing is if you have any type of membership, any type of group, like paid group or certification, right? Any level of IP. And when I say IP, Rachel, you know this, right? It's like
intellectual property.
If you have a program, you have methodologies, you have different things. Like for example, when we work with our clients, we make, first of all, they submit all their episodes to us, right? And in the beginning, it's a little bit, back and forth in terms of these content critiques, because we want to get them to like a little sweet zone, for them, right? Yeah. And so we use these things called the 5 connectors, right? And really, it's just 5 little things that make each episodes that much sexier. You don't have to use all 5, right? But it's the idea that we could take a normal story and inject certain pieces of it in a different way so that it's a bit different, right? And so they're each, we always say this, like, we just had a client literally do a launch today. So they're launching their podcast, this morning. So their whole podcast is around conscious living, conscious families, right? It's taking all alternative health and embedding it into the, how do we do this with the whole family type of conversation. And so for them, it's how do they become the voice for conscious living and conscious families? But during that process, it's them finding their voice, right?
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I think that is one of my favorite parts of listening to podcasts. And when I get to see the hero's journey year after year from the same person, I'm like, this is so cool. So tell me more, because this is where I geek out. I love this part of the experience as a listener.
Yeah. And if you think about it, right, it, like, that's why you actually watch. If everybody just like wrote, took a step back from this interview, right, or this part, and just like literally wrote down, hey, what are the best, YouTube videos that I watch? What are the best news things that I consume? What are the best sports cast or sports thing that I follow? If you really look at it from the lens of storytelling, a lot of the individuals and hosts that you follow, they'll have certain aspects of these things, right? I'm not going to go through the whole 5 different connectors with you, but like, one of them, for example, would be, a dialogue, right? So instead of telling me a story, right, I could say, the other night, Rachel asked me this question, and she literally said, it's like a story, right? So Rachel would say, hey, honey, come grab, the plate from the other room. And so you could tell a story about yourself. You could tell a story about, somebody else, right? But how do you have that dialogue, And, so that would be one of the connectors. Another one would be, how vivid do you actually describe the scenario, right? We had multiple clients that, they're CEOs and they're leaders of their company, and they're very direct. Right? They're very like to the point. Hey, do this, do that. This is how you're going to get there. Right? But it's like, no. Bring me into the setting with you. Bring me into the story. Right? Yes. I woke up 6 a.m. I was listening to the sound of the water. It's, that moment when you're by yourself in the forest, standing still, you hear the birds chirping. Like, I'm right there with you. Right? Yeah. And that really just hooks people as they go throughout the story. And so it's all about infusing all of these, different components into said hero's journey, right? So that there's actual tension there. It's not just, hey, this is how, the 5 ways of podcasting and how to win using the platform. 1, this, 2, that, 3, 4, right? And I think there's a space for that. It's just about how do we infuse it and make it that much sexier.
Oh, that's so good. Jay, what services do you offer, and where can people learn more about you?
Well, Rachel, I appreciate you asking that. We have a done-for-you podcast agency where we want to work with these brands and business owners to not just be able to hit the top 100, but be able to have a massive ROI. The ideal is being able to dominate your niche in the next 2 years. And so if that's of interest, you can look up more information at podcastyourbrand.co. And I don't know when this is going to be coming out, but we're actually in the midst of launching our own podcast around the agency. And so that's coming out in a few weeks. So I'll send you the link to that once it's live. Yeah.
Awesome. And if you guys are listening to this on the podcast, of course, you can go to rachelpedersen.com/podcast. Otherwise, the link will be above or beneath this video. Jay, thank you so much. This has been like mind-blowing. I could make my whole team watch this, and I'm so excited for us to even implement what you shared here. So this has been incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. This has been fun.
Awesome. We will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.